Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narotamam devim sarasvatim vyasam tato jayamudirayat. Before reciting this Srimad Bhagavatam, which is a very midst of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances to the personality of Godhead Narayan, and to Narayan Rishi, the supremest human being, and to Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to the author, Srila Vyasadeva. Today we are reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, second canto, entitled The Cosmic Manifestation. We are on chapter 5, entitled The Cause of All Causes. And we are reading from text 38, if I'm correct.
That is correct.
Bu, Loka, Kalpita, Padbyam, Bhuva, Loka, Asya, Navita, Ida, Swarloka, Urasa, Mahaloka, Mahatmana, Loka Kalpita Padbyam, Bhuvaloko Syanabitaha, Vidaswarloka Urasa, Mahaloko Mahatmanaha, Loka Kalpita Padbyam, Bhuvaloko Syanabitaha, Vidaswarloka Urasa, Mahaloko Mahatmanaha, Loka Kalpita Padbyam, Bhuvaloko Syanabitaha, Vidaswarloka Urasa, Mahaloko Mahatmanaha,
Urloka Kalpita Padbyam, Bhuvaloko Syanabita, Vidaswarloka Urasa, Mahaloko Mahatmanaha,
Loka Kalpita Padbyam, Bhuvaloko Syanabitaha, Vidaswarloka Urasa, Mahaloko Mahatmanaha. Anyone online would like to chant?
Burloka Kalpita Padbyam, Bhuvaloko Syanabita, Vidaswarloka Urasa, Mahaloka Mahatmanaha.
Boo. The lower planetary system up to the stratum of the Earth.
The lower planetary systems up to the stratum of the Earth.
Loka. The planets. Kalpita. It is so imagined or said. Padbyam. Out of the legs. Bhuva. The upper. Loka.
The
planetary system. Asya,
Asya,
of him,
of him,
the Lord.
the Lord.
Nabita,
Nabika,
from the navel abdomen.
from the navel abdomen.
Ida,
Ida,
by the heart.
by the heart.
Svarloka, the
Svarloka,
planetary systems occupied by the demigods.
the planetary systems occupied by the demigods.
Urasa,
Rasa,
by the chest.
by the chest.
Maharloka,
Maharloka,
the planetary system occupied by great sages and saints.
the planetary system occupied by great sages and saints.
Mahatmana,
Mahatma,
of the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Of the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Translation. The lower planetary systems up to the limit of the Earth's stratum are said to be situated in his legs. The middle planetary systems, beginning from Bhuvarloka, are situated in his navel. And the still higher planetary system, occupied by the demigods and high cultural sages and saints, are situated in the chest of the Supreme Lord. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. There are 14 spheres of planetary system within the universe, this universe. The lower system are called Bhurloka. The middle system are called Bhuvarloka. And the higher planetary systems, up to Brahmaloka, the highest planetary system in the universe, are called Swarloka. And all of them are situated on the body of the Lord. In other words, no one within this universe is without a relationship with the Lord. Om Agyanatimirandasya Gyanachalakshakaya Chakshu Unmiliturdyana Tasma Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance. My spiritual master opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. Offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Namah Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vistaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nitinamani Namaste Sarasvati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvasishya Shunyavadi Paskacha Jatarani Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. The lower planetary systems up to the limit of the earthly stratum are said to be situated in his legs. The middle planetary system, beginning from Bhuvarloka, are situated in his navel. And the still higher planetary systems, occupied by the demigods and highly cultured sages and saints, are situated in the chest of the Supreme Lord. So, in this chapter, entitled The Cause of All Causes, Lord Brahma is endeavoring to really show how he's not the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Supreme Controller, is a controller. He has a sphere of influence, of course, and his sphere of influence is bigger than any human being sphere of influence. He can influence, like he has a big job as an engineer of this universe. And at the same time, he wants to impart upon Narada Muni the knowledge of the creation, to really see that even his job is kind of small in comparison to the bigger picture. And in the bigger picture, we are learning how the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, he expands himself when at the time of creation, he expands himself. And that all the material world emanates from him, Aham Sarvasya Paravaru. So everything emanates from the Lord. The spiritual world emanates from the Lord, constantly emanating, constantly expanding, really. And the material world also is expanding. And the difference between the material world and the spiritual world, there are a few differences. One of them is that the material world is cyclically destroyed, while the spiritual world is never destroyed. Another part of that is in spiritual world there is no time. What moves the spiritual world is love, desire of the living entity to serve in a certain way, the reciprocation between the Lord and his devotees, the love party. That's what moves everything. And in this material world, what moves everything is time, and we are kind of under the pangs of time, helplessly moving, having everything changing all the time, under the pangs of time, helplessly, powerlessly. And so that's two elements that makes that the difference between, of course, there is many more elements, but those two are what comes to mind right now. So also what comes to mind is, okay, so the Lord expand, and then we heard about Mahavishnu, Dakashayi Vishnu, who is lying in a causal ocean, and then from his breathing, innumerable universes come, and then they are there in the ocean for a while, until Mahavishnu kind of divide himself, expand further into Hiranyagarbha or Garbhodakashayi Vishnu. And then he enters every universe, and then he manifests his universal form. And then from that universal form, we also understand that part of the matter that there is the aggregate of everything, the senses and the mind, and also the gross element, the subtle element, the object of the senses, everything is existing, and then all those elements are assembled to create, the material world as we see it. And then Lord Brahma went into expressing about this universal form, what is it? And what's interesting is that the verse before that we read yesterday, that Dominic spoke about, where the universal form is kind of imagined to be like, according to the Varna, the legs are the Shudra, and the belly is the Vaishya, and the arms are the Kshatriya, and then the head is the Brahman. And then we have another way of looking at it. And we can see that it's not the same way. And here we are looking at the different planetary systems. There's 3 planetary systems, and we are learning that the lower planetary system is like the lower part of the body, and then around the navel is a middle planetary system, and then from the chest up is the lower planetary system. So how are we made to understand that? Then Srila Prabhupada tells us at the end of the purport, this is all those is to explain that we are never separated from the Lord, that we have a relationship with the Lord always, and we are never separated from the Lord. The Lord is kind of in every corner, in any nooks, anywhere. We can never be separated from the Lord, and that's sheltering. That's sheltering. What creates our stress, anxiety? Vaikuntha, the place without anxiety. So we are full of kuntas here. It's like the world of kuntas. The world of kuntas is when we have a material consciousness. Because we are always in the spiritual world in a sense, because there is nothing separated from Krishna. But because we want to enjoy separated from Krishna, because we want to lord it over, we want to be the little Ishwaras, we want to control material nature, we want to control our life, then we get separated. And of course, when we get separated from the truth of our interior constitutional position, then we are in so much anxiety. The more we want to control, the more what we're trying to control is controlling us. And the more we have anxiety about how will my maintenance come from? Where will that come from? Where is going to? Where is food? Where is a mat that will be a good match for me. And like, where are my enemies? Let me be prepared to respond to my enemies. So that's so much anxiety, not understanding that there is no enemies. Everything is allowed. So if everything is allowed, there is no enemies anywhere. If everything is allowed and the Lord is our maintainer, then we don't need to worry. Like the elephant in the jungle, Prabhupada gives that example, and I often quote it. They don't need to go to the office. They don't need to have a business. They don't need to they don't even need to do coaching. They don't need all that. The elephant in the jungle, they eat tons of food every day, tons of food every day. And still they receive, like sufficient food for them. So in the same way, part of understanding our position and surrendering to it is to accept the Lord as our maintainer. And when we are in that place, then there is no more kuntas. We are in Vaikuntas. We can be relaxed. Like, yes, naturally, the nature of the soul is to be active. And the nature of being in the material world is that we need to be responsible for our maintenance. But while being responsible for our maintenance, we understand that, in fact, the maintenance is not coming from us. I know many people who have so many jobs, like 3 jobs in Japan. People have everybody have 3 jobs, and then they barely make it. And then I know people who don't do anything or very little, and then they have a lot of opulence and abundance in their life. So there is no cause and effect. There is no cause and effect. We are supposed to endeavor. We are supposed to be responsible, but at the same time, there is no cause and effect. And just by observing the material energy, by observing around us, observing people, we understand that the cause and effect is just a creation of our mind. It's just a creation, like in the seminar, the foundational course, we present the be, do, have, and then we present the other paradigm, have, do, be, and do, have, be. And then from that, we can see that we are creating the cause and effect. If I have a lot of money, or if I have the right people around me, if I, like that, then I will do what I want to do, and then I will be happy, satisfied, powerful. So we are creating cause and effect all the time. Like the cause and effect, like I get my food and my lodging because I work so hard, or because I have that job or this job or that business. But it's just a concoction. It's just a concoction. The same way that have to be is a concoction. Like do, have, be. If I work very, 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 very hard, isn't it? We always think like, if I work very, very hard at something, I'm going to succeed. Well, sometimes it's true, sometimes it's not true. It's just because there is no cause and effect. The cause and effect in the material world don't work like that. The cause and effect are connected with our like desire and activities from previous life. So if I'm supposed to be a pauper, I'm going to be a pauper, and I can just enjoy that. Like in 10th canto of Bhagavatam, we read in a pastime, I think it's a pastime of Damodar, where Srila Prabhupada glorified poverty, and our poverty is so conducive for spiritual life. So if I'm supposed to be wealthy, and we can see our quota in the Sri Upanishad, it's explained how we have our quota, and we can limit our quota, we can get in the way of our quota. But in reality, we cannot really increase our quota, because that's the definition of a quota. So we can, if we look at our life, if I look at my life, I can see I had food. I never had a time when there was no food, regardless if I was working or not working. I didn't work for 2 years and I traveled. I was never hungry. And I didn't have a job, and I didn't even have a bank account. I didn't have insurance. I didn't have anything. I didn't have even plane tickets, or I didn't have anything. And I ate every day, and every day was lunch. So here is a belief that only money will create that for me. And if I look at my life, I can see my quota. My quota is not a lot, but enough, and enough for, even more than enough for what I need, also enough for what I want. And sometimes it comes in so many ways, not necessarily in the way that we want to conceive about money coming in. I remember when I moved to Florida, I had an old Chevrolet. I didn't have a bank account, I didn't have money, and as a child. And I moved to Florida, and when I arrived, I was on 5 acres of land with a super swimming pool. So I thought, oh, that must be part of my quota too. So, and it was nice to live in Florida and have a swimming pool as a child. It was nice. And so we only like imagine cause and effect. And why did I go to that point? I'm lost right now. Yeah, so the creation take place. And then we are looking at the universal form of the Lord within one universe, and how it can help us. It can help us understand at every moment that we are not separated from the Lord, that we can choose surrender. We can choose surrender to that picture. We can choose to feel sheltered. We can choose to feel like a cocoon, even the floor here, even the inert material energy is an energy of the Lord. The wall of this house is the energy of the Lord. Like everywhere around there is living entities. So I don't really need to be creating that sense of being alone, because we are never separated from the Lord. The Lord even is so grateful or graceful. He's so graceful that not only we are never separated from Him, that we're always connected with His energy, and there is always a relationship between us and Him, but to show even more mercy, to extend Himself even more. He manifests Himself as Kshiro Dakashayi Vishnu. So Hiranya Garba or Garbo Dakashayi Vishnu, He expands one more time, and He expands Himself in the form of Kshiro Dakashayi Vishnu, and that's Paramatma inside the heart. So not only we are cocoon in that cocoon of the Lord's energy all the time, but He also comes as our best friend. He comes as our best friend. Suridam Sarvabhutanam. He's our best friend inside the heart, and guiding us. If we listen carefully, we'll hear the voice of the super soul. Probably the super soul is going to say some things that we don't want to hear. So it's better to pretend not to know than to be honest about, I kind of know what I'm supposed to do. I kind of know what direction my life is supposed to have. I kind of know all that, but because it doesn't fit my plan, then I'm going to pretend that I don't know. And then, I can consult so many people, but as long as I'm pretending not to know, then I'm not going to be satisfied with their responses, because I already have the supreme responses. And so the Lord is kind, so kind, that He expands Himself as Kshiro Dakashayi Vishnu, and as a Paramatma in the heart, is conducting the wandering of the living entities. Is says to be is a witness, and also is overseer, the permitter the permitter and the overseer. So really, not a blade of grass move without the sanction of the Lord. So if we get that picture, meaning like even other living entities, even our so-called friends or enemies, they cannot be so-called friends or enemies without the sanction of the Lord. And sometimes also, without going into complacency or excuse, we can, I'm wondering, like, okay, I'm acting in a way that doesn't fit into who I am. And sometimes I have that, well, not even a blade of grass removed without the sanction of the Lord. So sanction, of course, doesn't mean that He is a cause necessarily. Like sometimes we choose to enjoy separated from the Lord, and we cannot blame Him for that. We are the cause and the origin. At the same time, as overseer and the permitter, the Lord kind of use whatever karma we have as, to fulfill His purpose. It says that the Lord never do one thing just for one person. Like there are so many ripple effects. Like Prabhupada gives the analogy that when we throw a rock in the water, there is so many ripple effects that go in every direction. So similarly, when the Lord does one thing, there is so many ripple effects, and everybody is served. Everybody is served all the time by the Lord. So in that universal form, and a different way, it is said to be representative or even imaginary of the philosopher from what we read yesterday. The main point that Srila Prabhupada, at least in his purport, is bringing home is that we are always in relationship with the Lord, that we are never separated from the Lord. So if we were to take that with ourselves in our life, then we will see every situation as a blessing. We'll be able to see reverse situation as mercy of the Lord. We will see our so-called favorable event coming in our lives as the mercy of the Lord, and in that way, we will be able to fully surrender and fully be living that association, living that relationship, living in love, in loving exchange with the Lord, in constant loving exchange with the Lord, of knowing Him to be our well-wisher, to be our sustainer, to be the supreme controller of all that be. So another way that the Lord reach out to us is by giving us the Bhagavatam. In the beginning of the Bhagavatam, it's explained how the Lord, when He left, what He left behind is the Bhagavatam. So the Bhagavatam also is a form incarnation of the Lord. And by taking shelter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, also the Bhagavad Gita, we get to sharpen our knowledge of that relationship. We get to sharpen, in reading the Bhagavad Gita, we get to sharpen our understanding of who we are, as spirit soul having a human experience, that we are not this body, that in fact we are amazing, and that also our tendency is to identify with what we are not. Identify, like Arjuna, he was identifying as a son, he was identifying as a cousin, he was identifying as a grandson, he was identifying as a student. And because of that identification, at first he was like going into sentimentality, not understanding the big picture, not understanding that Krishna already is done. He's done. He has killed everybody, so you can participate or not. So in that way, we are supported to surrender. Just surrender unto me, do not fear. That's at the end, the conclusion of the Bhagavad Gita, really. Give up all religion, give up every Sarvadharma, give up all religion and just surrender unto me. Do not fear. Do not fear. There is nothing to fear, because it's like there is a safety net everywhere. We can take risk for Krishna. we can serve Krishna to our heart content, because there is a constant safety net. Do not fear. Just surrender to me. Just serve me with love and devotion. That's all we need to do. And then Srila Prabhupada explained how by chanting Hare Krishna, we are fulfilling all the different services. So that's our primary service. Yesterday, I met Mazananda, and I was really happy to see her. And she was coming back from India, and I asked her how was India. She said, "Well, I only chanted." So, well, you cannot go wrong with that. So I mainly chanted. She chanted. She didn't visit, holy places. She didn't go anywhere. She was chanting. Mm-hmm. And yeah, and then if we are capable of doing that, then we cannot go wrong. That's the purpose of human life, is to chant and glorify the Lord. Shravanam, Kirtanam. And by chanting, we do both Shravanam, Kirtanam. We do Kirtan because we chant the name of the Lord. We glorify the Lord by chanting His name, and we also hear. We are living and chanting in one package. So we do two of the limbs of devotional service in chanting Hare Krishna.
I do one at the best.
And so the Bhagavatam is here to guide us, like first surrender, understand your position, understand you're not this body, understand your position, that your spirit, soul having a human experience, and then your body, your mind, your intelligence, all that is me. Like everybody around you is also me, and everything in the material energy is me. Nothing can move without me. So understand that. And then after the Bhagavatam, take us to like, okay, now that you understand your position, you understand who you are, you get to know like what's the relationship between the Lord and His devotees. And then the Bhagavatam is one after another stories of devotees and their relationship with the Lord and their tribulation in finally surrendering and the ways the Lord show up and come in and show Himself, and then through the Bhagavatam we get to really like get to know what's our relationship with the Lord, what the varieties of relationship. Of course, with the sum bonum of that is the 10th canto, and the first part of the 10th canto is all Krishna's relationship with the inhabitant of Vrindavan. So that's definitely the sum bonum of the highest relationship one can get with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. And then, okay, so then after we are led to understand the goal, and the goal is to understand those relationships and seeing how Krishna show up in so many ways, and He show up in our lives the same way. And in the Bhagavatam, the Bhagavatam is always written. It doesn't stop. I mean, in fact, in every planet, in the Swargaloka, there is Bhagavatam that are like 10 times bigger than our Bhagavatam. Of course, in Kali Yoga, we know our Bhagavatam is already big enough that most people are challenged to read through it. So, and the Bhagavatam is always expanding because the relationship and the different situation in relationship with the Lord are unlimited. Like we can have a Bhagavatam about each of us, because the Lord show up for us every moment. He show up internally, He show up externally. He's so present in our life in a way that's caring and close, intimate, catered to each of us. So we could also write Bhagavatam like that. And like sometimes I like to give the analogy of like we do seminar, and soon in 2 weeks in a few days we will start an advanced course again. And I'm really looking forward to be in the training room. And the main component of that magic that's happening in the training room, the main component of that magic that's happened, of the expansion of the soul, is safety, the cocoon. The cocoon. Because of that cocoon, because the safety that people experience, because of the container that's created in the advanced course, then the soul get to expand. Then the living entity frees himself from whatever is covering, the free will of the living entity, whatever is covering the soul in misidentification, the false ego. So, and then, of course, you have facilitator in there, and the main role of the facilitator is to create that cocoon. So Krishna is the supreme facilitator, and we can choose to see the material world. If we choose that, we can choose to see the material world as the cocoon of the advanced course. Everywhere. Like everywhere we can choose to see that cocoon of being safe, that we are safe, that we are with the Lord all the time. Is a well-wisher and is always taking care of us. So we can choose that, and then as we choose that, then we can safely expand. We can safely shed the layers upon layers of misidentification, layers upon layers of false pride, false prestige, false identification, false humility, all the falsity that exists in this material world, and then come to a place of complete surrender and ecstasy, seeing the mercy of the Lord, seeing how amazing the Lord is. Like Vasudev doubt, was it Vasudev?
Yeah.
That the Lord, the Lord didn't want to see him.
Oh, that's Mukunda.
Mukunda that. It's Mukunda that. Like Lord Chaitanya, he was an associate of Lord Chaitanya. In fact, he was like a kirtan leader. Like Lord Chaitanya really enjoyed Mukunda Datt's kirtan. He would always ask for Mukunda. He was very particular. Lord Chaitanya was so particular about kirtan, about the kirtan leader, and about who play Mridanga, who dance, who play kirtans. It was really, really particular. So Mukunda was one of his favorites. And then Mukunda associated with some Mayavadis. And then during one of Lord Chaitanya's pastime, he was showing his universal form. In fact, he was showing himself as Mahaprakash, as the supreme personality of Godhead. And then he was giving a lot of blessings that day. So all the devotees were coming, and then, but the Lord said, I don't want to see Mukunda. And so the devotee felt so much pain, because a devotee the desire of the devotee is to bring everybody else to Krishna. The desire of the devotees is not like, I want to be with Krishna. It's not there. I want to be with Krishna, or I want to be loved by Krishna. The desire of the devotees, I want them to be loved by Krishna. So all the devotees, they felt so much pain that the Lord was rejecting Mukunda Datt. They felt so much pain, and so they pleaded to the Lord they wanted to understand. And they said, well, when will we be able to see you? And then the Lord said, like 10,000 lifetimes, so I don't remember exactly the numbers.
10 million
lifetimes. Maybe 10 million lifetimes, like an amazing amount of lifetime. And so the devotees, they were like sheepish. They were thinking, oh my God, it's so hard. I cannot imagine we can be with the Lord all the time, and Mukunda cannot be for 10 million lifetimes. So they went back to Mukunda Datt, and they said, like, here is what the Lord said, you will not see him again for 10 million lifetimes. And Mukunda Dati became ecstatic, jubilant. He was dancing, I He was so happy. He was so happy because the Lord was just telling him, you're going to see me again. Yes. And so that's a mood. That's a mood. That's a mood. We are never separated from Krishna, and then to be self, to feel self. Yeah, I'm going to be with Krishna, associating with Krishna. And right now, the best association with Krishna is feeling the separation from him. Deep feeling of separation from, like any separation. We can see, like, let's say that if I'm not going to Mongolati, okay, I can go into depression, self-hatred, condemnation, judgment, or I can feel inside my heart, I feel like, oh, I feel separation from Mongolati. And by cultivating that, then there is more chance that we'll go to Mongolati. And then we're cultivating more and more separation from the service of the Lord, learning to love service to the Lord, learning to love those activities given by the spiritual master, chanting 61, following 4 regular principle, getting up early in the morning, coming to the morning program, to like really allowing ourselves, if we are, if our senses and mind get in the way, like my senses and mind always get in the way, to transform that into something positive towards the Lord. And then we get to accept what's favorable for devotional service, and then to reject what's not favorable to devotional service. So I'm going to stop here. Ulokakalpita pabhyam bhuvaloko shanabitaha idaswaloka urasa mahaloka mahatmanaha. The lower planetary systems up to the limit of the earthly stratum are said to be situated in his legs. The middle planetary systems, beginning from Bhuvaloka, are situated in his navel. And the still higher planetary system, occupied by the demigods and agricultural sages and saints, are situated in the chest of the Supreme Lord. So even if we end up in a lower planetary system, we can pray like, wherever I'm going, just let me remember you. Because there he will be too. Anywhere we go in the material world, Krishna is there too. So any question, comments, expansion, challenges?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, George.
Thank you so much for the class, Malini. I just want to, what is coming up for me, and I don't feel like I have any realized knowledge of this, but it's the quote from Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur, where he says, what is necessary is to change our outlook on this world. And it has been my personal experience that to the extent that I am thinking of the Lord throughout the day and remembering Him, it becomes increasingly harder to be in my integrity and, do things like illicit sex or intoxication or gamble with my time, or in other ways, like it becomes increasingly harder for me to feel in integrity and do that. And so that quote came up because as I'm listening to your lesson here in my office, I have the quote there. Then he says, when we perceive any change being actually affected in the course of events of this world by the agency of any particular individual, we must know very well that the agent possesses no real power at any stage. The agent finds himself driven forward by a force belonging to a different category from himself. The course of the world does not require to be changed by the agency of any person. And that's when he says, what is necessary is to change our outlook on this world. And this quote felt very in line with me when you were talking about action and reaction and, the elephants and how how that all is tied in with awareness of God being everywhere and surrendering everything up to Him. So I just wanted to share that.
Thank you. Thank you for your sharing and very appropriate quote from Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur. How like what is necessary and what's most needed also is that what's most needed in this world and what's most lacking is Krishna consciousness. Yeah, so Krishna consciousness make Krishna consciousness, a consciousness of Krishna. And you can see in your own life when you are, putting your consciousness on Krishna, then naturally you're not attracted to activities that are going to separate you from Krishna. Naturally, you don't want to continue to put energy or put fuel into that fire of the material energy and those activities that are really against devotional service. And yes, so the world is of no need of any reformer. And then I like the part also when he said, when we see that things need to be reformed, then we are the one who are of need of reforming. Yes, like that. That's yeah. And if we see anybody doing anything, we know that it's not about that person. We don't need to put anybody on the pedestal or anything. Yes, we can appreciate the service people render to the Lord, and all the agency of like the cause, primary and secondary cause of everything happening is always the Lord. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for sharing. It's very appropriate quote.
I appreciate that. It's like I just don't need to do anything. I just need to think of Him and surrender unto Him, change my outlook, and I can be like the elephant in the jungle, It's nice.
Exactly. And still be a dentist.
Yeah.
Not being in illusion of cause and effect. It's because I'm a dentist that I can put food on my plate. No, I'm supposed to be a dentist, according to what I know right now, that's what I'm supposed to do. And my supreme Sanatan Dharma is to render service, loving service to the Lord, and there is nothing else. And you continually remember Him. Like Rukmini the other day, she was sharing, like having always at least one track. We have so many tracks to our minds. And so having at least one track always fixed on self-realization, always fixed on the holy name.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, George. Gary Gajendra.
Yes, I was appreciating that. And it reminded me of just a couple of simple statements, which is, of course, chant Hare Krishna and be happy, very simple. And also how we give up the lower taste for the higher taste. It's a very natural process.
It's organic. It's an organic process. And like we were speaking about that with Diogovinda the other day about chant and be happy and how if we're not properly situated or if we are seeing our service that we are miserable or resentful, then maybe we are not properly situated because that's the effect. Last night I was at Malini Prabhu's reading of Bhagavatam, and Nalini Kanta asked me, "Are you happy?" I said, "Yes." And he went on continuing to say, like, yeah, Prabhupada regularly, he will ask the individual, "Are you happy? Are you healthy?" He will ask individually about their welfare. And also he will want his leaders or those who are in charge of others in his movement to also inquire like that. Are you happy? Are you healthy? To really bring home that, okay, well, if you're not happy, let's see what's happening, because chant and be happy. Yes. Thank you.
I made a 3S note in my mind from your lecture.
It's 3
S. 3S.
3S.
Same, super soul and separation. So I will expand on it. I like that. I like that.
Safe, we are safe.
Yeah, like
There is no reason to be in anxiety.
yeah, like a big Krishna seminar.
Yeah, yeah, no matter what's happened, you know, people dive in the processes, you know, I can seminar and I know how much I'm like soon to dive into that, and they dive into it. And of course, maybe they feel something, but they are safe enough to take a risk.
Yes,
Yes.
so like anything that's happening is just like a process. Which
Yeah.
I don't like to suffer a lot of processes when I have to participate.
Yeah, so everything that's happening, and there is a supreme facilitator that's all benevolent. There is nothing else to that supreme facilitator than benevolence. 100% pure benevolence. So self,
Super soul.
super soul,
and
separation.
yeah, like I really like the point that like when I don't get up for Mangalati, I can feel separation. Because I do like when I don't wake up for Mangalati, I feel so sad.
Yeah.
And then I think like some Saradava in my head and then I fall asleep. And then I get up again and I feel all the guilt and like that. But my original, like when I don't get up, it's like feeling separation.
Yeah.
So I like that.
And that feeling of separation is favorable to devotional service versus the guilt and shame and excuses is not favorable for devotional service.
Yes, so yes.
So self, super soul, and separation, the three S's for today.
Yes. Yes, that we like that we have the guidance within and we don't have to pretend that we don't.
We have the guidance within and we don't need to pretend that we don't.
Yes. Yeah. I think I hear as the time goes, I think I hear the super soul louder and louder and like, can we just be quiet? We'll ask your opinion.
You're not telling me what I want to hear, so you may as well stop speaking.
And the super soul is like, you keep asking.
It's confusing, huh?
It's confusing for the super soul.
Yeah, it's confusing for the super soul because please engage me in your service. Please let me know what to do. Oh, okay. So chant, get up early in the morning, take a cold shower, and do service. Or sometimes it's more specific.
No, just getting something else will be right.
Just tell me what I want to hear. Only tell me what I want to hear.
Yes, I even speaking like the last class you had was about the truthfulness, so it also can be like like.
It is so much about honesty and
I
truthfulness.
guess like the super soul, I can hear it. It's not like a victim that not, and then it doesn't mean that I am ready to follow or something.
Not necessarily honest with myself enough to even acknowledge that no, but I don't like it.
I cannot follow and then feel separation from following the guidance.
And yeah, at least being honest that I do know what to do. I do know what's the best. I do know, what's most conducive for spiritual life, and not making excuses and coming to a place and I'm scared or I don't want it or I don't like it. That's already advancement.
Yes, so I'm
That
taking,
doesn't pretending, oh, I don't know.
I'm taking 3x.
3S you're taking with you. Anything else?
I was wondering, in the context of what you were saying in the class, like this working is everything depends on us, and praying like everything depends on Krishna. How would you say it? Like, because you were saying that we just, there's no need of coaching, there's no need of so many things, there's no need of working, but we do have to work. So how do we work? Like everything depends on us.
Well, I think you said it very well. Like working at everything depends on us, meaning giving 100% to what we are doing or what we know, like we are supposed to do right now. To give 100% there as if everything depends on us, but it's as if, meaning like it's not the reality. And then praying like everything depends on Krishna, and that's a reality because everything depends on Krishna. There's no certainty that I will get up from this position right now. If Krishna doesn't want to. Yeah. So I believe that that's exactly the balance that you're speaking about. You kind of highlighted that principle. Like being responsible. Yeah. It's so connected with the third and fifth chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, of knowing how to give 100% and according to our psychophysical nature work and know that I'm not entitled to the result. I'm just not entitled to the result. And if we really understand that sense, we are not entitled to the result, meaning it's just like gravity. That's the reality of our context, that we are not entitled to the result of our work, and the nature of the soul is to be active, and when we are active in the material world, with our material consciousness, we are going to act according to our psychophysical nature, and give 100% to that, as if everything depends on us, and then really be in the consciousness that Krishna is my maintainer, Krishna is my provider, Krishna is my protector. And that's part of Sharanagati, that's part of surrender. So there's so many principles in spiritual life, and it's to really understand how to make them work together. Because the tendency, like I know I have a tendency of impersonalism that goes into like, oh, so I don't care. I can go into not caring or not thinking, oh, well, the Lord is in charge, or everything belongs to Krishna, so who cares? And then that's impersonalism. It's an impersonalist tendency, at least it manifests like that in my heart. And it's about being able to take all the different principles that Krishna gave us, like, because the nature of the soul is to be active, work according to psychophysical nature. Know that you're not entitled to the result of your work. And surrender means you accept me fully as your maintainer and your protector. To take all those principles and then applying them in our life, in our day-to-day life.
For me it's helpful to understand those principles in balance by kind of considering what it looks like and feels like when I'm not balanced. And work like everything depends on us. Like if we got that, but we don't have the Krishna factor, then that's incomplete philosophy that's preached by Krishna. In the Govardhan Hill pastime, Krishna's preaching bad philosophy to his father Nanda Maharaj, Karma Mamsa, and that the idea is like, whatever, even if there are these gods, whatever, we just work, and then they're obliged to provide the result. So it's really about our karma, our activity, our work. Okay, so he was taking the higher power and the grace of higher power and the will of higher power out of it. Of course, Krishna did that for a reason. It's not that he didn't understand the meanings, just to be clear. And then the other side, and we see this a lot. We see this. I in myself, and you mentioned it's a form of impersonalism. I see this a lot in clients and like that. The idea is everything depends on God. Everything depends on God. So it doesn't matter what I do. It doesn't matter, it doesn't matter if I act morally. It doesn't matter if I come to Mangal Arti or not. I mean, it doesn't matter if I give 10% or 100% to my activities. And so then it becomes a disempowering misunderstanding. Mayavadi, yeah.
Hare Krishna.
I think the point there is also that the nature is to be active. So like naturally if we are active, then like there will be some fruits of the actions. And it's not like it's like because like when we reverse the mentality of like I need the fruits, so what do I do to get the fruits? That's different than naturally I do what I do. And
And
then
then
the
maybe
fruits
fruits.
come.
Yeah, maybe I will become very famous, maybe nothing will happen, maybe I will make a lot of money or not, but there is some fruits.
Yeah, but because like I want the fruit and then I have some belief system how to get the fruit, then I do all sorts of like things that are alienating.
The illusion of cause and effect.
Yeah.
And there is cause and effect in the material world, definitely as Krishna created it, but not the one we are creating it in our mind.
Yes.
Yes.
Exactly.
Thank you for sharing, Malini Shakti.
I even had a time in my life when I got money for riding horses.
Amazing, amazing. Yeah.
It's just like you do something that most people paid for.
And you got paid for it.
Yeah.
Yes. So we believe that in order to make money, a lot of people have that belief system that in order for me to make money, I need to do something I don't like and work very hard. And here it's pierced to nothing.
Yeah.
Because here you were doing horseback riding and you were getting paid for, and it was your favorite things to do.
Yeah. But I have that understanding with money somewhat, but in spiritual life not. Like if you want to achieve something in spiritual life, then it must be really hard and you must not like it. But for money it's just
For money, it's easy for you to understand. And we are not totally, like looking at spiritual life in the same way. Means that it's a mechanical process that can take me to Krishna. And then where is the love? It's like, okay, I want you to love me and I want to love you, and then I'm going to do A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then you're obliged to love me. And in a sense, Krishna was preaching that because the demigods are like that. The demigod, if you really follow all the Vedas, then they're obliged to reciprocate. But it's not an exchange of love, it's business. So if we like think, okay, if I chant my round properly and do that and do that, then I will have whatever, and I will be. So it's a do have be kind of mentality and approach to spiritual life instead of, no, I'm a devotee of Krishna.
If I really do like things that are really, really hard, then I will have love for Krishna.
Yeah, exactly.
But thus far, my only experience is that I feel resentful towards him.
So it's not working too well for you.
But if I keep doing it,
maybe if you work harder, then it will work. Now we see that in a material consciousness too. You know, like doing again and again the same thing, and I'm creating results and thinking the result will be different after doing it so many times.
Yeah, if I could do it, it's more like the people in Japan with the 3 jobs. Like one job doesn't work to get the money, but if I have 2 jobs, it will work. Oh, 2 jobs doesn't work either, but if I have
a 3rd job, maybe it will work and I will be rich. Exactly. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your participation. Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Go Aprenanande Hari Hari Bo.
Hare Krishna, Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna. Have a good day.
You too.